If you're a Catholic mom and you hear the word Lent and you just think, oh my goodness, my life is already so hard. I do not want to make it harder, but I want to be a good Catholic and honor the spirit of Lent, I have some tips for you. So I had 6 kids in 8 years. And so there were many years, many Lents where I just thought, I cannot add something painful on top of back to back pregnancies. I had 3 bed rest pregnancies. I was in a lot of physical pain. And if I could go back and talk to myself at that time, I would say, yeah, honey, you don't need to. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing for the Lord. It is already painful enough, but I would have challenged myself to carry it with more grace, with less complaining, with less resistance, because I already had a pretty heavy cross. God asked me to give up my body so many times and in a really painful way for some of those pregnancies that I didn't need to add something on top of it, like, and now we're going to give up sugar or my phone or some of the other things that we tend to give up. But I think He was calling me to, I want you to do this painful season well. And so I think the thing He would have called me to give up would be complaining or resisting the cross that I already have. And that would have been a job, but it would have given me a focus, and I think it would have really given me a lot of hope. A lot of hope around, like, okay, we're not going to add another external painful thing. We're going to keep living this level of pain right now. God has given me, I'll just use bed rest for an example. And I'm going to wake up and try really hard this Lent to offer up the pain of bed rest and to have a positive attitude, or to walk with the Lord in the desert without complaining and griping. Like, all right, Lord, I'm entering into the desert with you. It's you and me. We're going to do this. It is difficult, but I love you and I'm here. And that's what I needed in those seasons. And you may be going through a season like that. Pregnancy, postpartum, really back to back sick kids is common at this time of year. Maybe your marriage is really painful. Maybe your finances are really heavy. You know, if you already have a big cross, you're not sitting around wondering, like, am I one of those people that already has a big, like, you already know. And I'm just suggesting if that's you in this season, okay, then maybe that is the thing. And we're just going to do that well. We're going to suffer well with the Lord by not resisting it, by really receiving the cross and saying, Lord, I will carry this for you, and trying to do it with less fighting Him and less complaining. That is a beautiful focus for Lent. And then I also think for some people, God is not necessarily calling you to give up something, but He's asking you to add something into your life, which will require you to give up something anyway. So, for example, maybe we're not praying regularly. And He's like, look, I am calling you this Lent to give me 30 minutes a day. And it's doable. It won't be a stretch. It won't be like, okay, now you're going to do the liturgy of the hours and pray 3 hours a day like a Benedictine nun, okay? It might be 30 minutes a day. And of course, we will have to give up something that we were doing with that 30 minutes to give Him this 30 minutes, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be both. I'm going to give up sugar or coffee or chocolate or whatever and the prayer time. For some of you, the life is already a lot. And what He's really calling you to is to add in a prayer practice. And He's like, little girl, I love you so much and I want you to come spend time with me. That is what I want from you. I want you to be with me. And it feels gentle and it feels inviting. And if you think it isn't harsh enough, then I want you to ask yourself, why do I think Lent should be harsh? That's such an interesting question. Right? And I think as Catholics, sometimes we think that the pain has to be so high in order for it to count. And I'm not saying that you should phone anything in. I'm not saying that you should be like, well, I'm just not going to have a focus this Lent. It's not that. Have a focus, but it might be something you're already doing, and it might be adding in some prayer time with the Lord. I help moms have interior peace, even though the world around them is really hard. And I learned how to do this in the middle of that, having 6 kids in 8 years. And I've just taught thousands of moms the things that I learned in that time since then. And it really is possible. And I think Lent is such a beautiful season to explore that, to explore how can I suffer well. And so much of suffering well has to do with managing the thoughts that are in your mind, the soundtrack that's happening in your mind. And instead of beating ourselves up and white-knuckling it, we learn to say things like, I'm in the desert with you, Lord. I receive this cross. I am pleased to carry this with you. And it really changes the way that we're thinking about the pain that we're already experiencing. And that does take effort, and I think it's such a gift. And you're going to feel that the cross is so much lighter. And he says that. He says when we were equally yoked with him that the burden feels light. I think that's what so many of us are searching for. But I want you to know that if you enter in this Lent and you practice on this skill of uniting yourself to Christ and carrying your cross well, it might feel lighter. And then be careful that your brain doesn't go, oh, I'm feeling relief here. So if I'm not suffering really painfully, then my Lent isn't right. I actually don't think that that is what the Lord is calling all of us to. There have been seasons, by the way, where things in my life have been going pretty well. And I do take on something that's really challenging for Lent, but it doesn't break me. It doesn't break my life. It feels really appropriate. It feels like God is inviting me into this challenge and to step up and to do something that's going to stretch me, but I feel really ready. I don't feel panic. I don't feel scared. I'm not like, look, I'm drowning over here and now you're asking me to carry this thing, which really comes back to how you have to pray about it. You have to pray about it. You don't know what you should do. I don't know what you should do, but the Lord knows what you should do. And he might say, carry what you've got right now better than you are. That's what we're going to work on. And he might say, things are going to stay the same, but I want you to spend 30 more minutes with me. And he might say something else. But I want you to open yourself up to what he says and believe that whatever it is enough. That it is enough. Okay? There's no Lent police. They're not going to come around and score you and be like, well, you didn't try hard enough. You got a B- this year. But we're so trained by school to think that way that we judge our experience of it, which takes away part of just being really present with the Lord for Lent. Okay, so there's no grades. I want you to go to the Lord, ask him what he wants you to do, and trust him. Okay? And if you like this video, I want you to check out this other video about the spiritual attacks that are very likely to come up for you during Lent or any time that we set ourselves to some sort of holy goal. And I think it's an amazing video and you should go check it out. All right, I am praying for you. Please pray for me and have a blessed day.